The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I'm going to be your host and your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And as you know, the X-Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern. Right here, live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network and our fine family of broadcast affiliates throughout Canada, the United States, Central America, South America, the Caribbean, the Pacific Rim, Asia, and Europe. The rest of the world, what little there is left, listens to us on TalkstarRadio.com streaming audio. My producer tonight at Master Control is my good friend, Brandy, and the song by The Looking Glass was in tribute to Brandy because she's a super lady. And Brandy, nice working with you again after all these years away from each other. Brandy drops in once in a while and brings back old memories. On tonight's show, Rosetree will be joining me in a few minutes. We're going to be talking about the candidates, the face. Rose is the world's most and foremost face reading expert. Mark Macy will be joining us to talk about ITC. He is the founder of the International Network for Instrumental Transcommunication. The Reverend Daniel Gargulio will be joining us to talk about occult investigations and exorcisms. And then astronumerologist Jesse Kelsey will be joining us. That's all tonight here on the X-Zone. If you'd like to give us a call and join the conversation, share your points of view, your opinions, your comments, our toll-free number is 1-877-528-8255, and that is toll-free throughout the U.S., Canada, Alaska, and Hawaii at 1-877-528-8255. My email address is xzone@talkstarradio.com. You can chat with us here in our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, using the MSN Messenger address, talkstarradio@hotmail.com, and our website is www.xzoneradio.com. Let me see, today is January the 11th, and on this date in 1770, the very first shipment of rhubarb arrived in the United States. It was a gift sent to a friend from London, sent by Benjamin Franklin. On this date in 1942, Japan declared war on the Netherlands, who said that was fine as long as they went Dutch. In 1949, 3 inches of snow fell on Las Vegas. Kids immediately went outside and built a smog man. Yep, it was actually a cold day in hell. Today is January the 11th. That means there are exactly 10 months until Veterans Day. Amanda Peet is 36 today. Let me see. Guitarist Tom Dumont is 40. He's with No Doubt, which is, ironically, we don't know if they're getting back together or not. Clarence Clemens, Bruce Springsteen's sax. Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine like hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits, and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining room can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you're visiting, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic Fellsmere.
or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, Old Florida cuisine at its best.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Are you interested in the paranormal, ghosts, UFOs, or psychic phenomenon? Join me, Tim Bartley, co-host of Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, coming mid-January 2017 to the XZBN. We will channel spirits live and talk to them, revealing all kinds of amazing information. Spiritual attachments will be found and removed on the show, and so much more. To find out when you can listen to Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, visit www.xzbn.net for listeners on both sides of the veil.
And welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. Things that we need to know. I'll just finish this off before we get to Rosetree. A Polish gentleman who visited a brothel was shocked when he saw his wife there. Apparently she's one of the employees. The unnamed couple have been married for 14 years, although they are now getting a divorce. And what's new? How about bologna-flavored bubble gum? It's out there. The exact reason why rapper Kanye West's mother, Donda West, died shortly after undergoing plastic surgery could not be determined, but there was no sign of any surgical or anesthetic misadventure, according to the coroner's report. Former Lost star Michelle Rodriguez is now out of jail after serving 18 days of a 180-day sentence for violation of probation in a drunken driving case. She has left Los Angeles County Women's Jail on Wednesday. The late James Brown's possession will be appraised in auctions in order to pay the taxes his estate owns. And despite the band's free release of its new album online, Radiohead's In Rainbows was number one on this week's music charts with sales of 122,000. And finally, the big buzz in the comic book world is about Spider-Man and how in the latest issue, Peter Parker and Mary Jane's 21-year marriage has been erased from everyone's memory. And that's today, things that you should know. Joining me now is Rosetree. She is the world's foremost face reading expert. Rose holds a BA from Brandeis University, supplemented by graduate study in social work and education. She is known nationally as a face reader, aura reader, and empath. Rose is a member of the International Association for Regression Research and Therapies and the National Guild of Hypnotists. She is fully certified as a consulting hypnotist and regression therapist. She has won teaching awards for her workshops from First Class Adult Education Center, Fairfax County Adult Education in Virginia, grants continuing education units for her classes to physicians, psychologists, psychotherapists, social workers, massage therapists, and other professionals. Rose's other clients include Long & Foster Real Estate, Law Resources, Oxford Management, USA Today, Freddie Mac, Andrews Bartlett, and the list goes on and on and on. But Rose is here with us tonight to tell us her impressions of the presidential candidates and what she sees in their faces. And Rosetree, how are you, dear friend? Happy New Year.
I am fine. What a great thing to do in the first month of this new year, be together with the X-Zone Nation.
Are you in the bathtub?
Well, maybe we should explain what we mean by that, Rob.
No, let's leave them guessing. All right, go ahead.
Besides reading faces, I do teach aura reading and skills for empaths. And because I work as an empath, it's become really clear to me that whenever you're in the room with another person, and that includes by telephone, it includes listening to friends on the radio, when you're together, it's as though everybody's aura gets completely naked and we're all in a bubble bath together, exchanging information. It's the sort of thing people talk about with screen chemistry. It's a reason why some people just make you feel good being around them, or maybe some other people you don't like so much being around them. You don't want them in the bathtub with you. But here I hope we're all just one really happy, wet family, learning ways to be more resourceful and use deeper perception.
We have your new theme song here.
Ooh!
Tiny bubble in the wine.
Actually, it's tiny bubbles in the bathtub, but anyway.
That's refreshing.
It sure
Very
is.
refreshing.
You didn't think I'd forget this time, did you?
I've really been looking forward to this conversation, and what a great chance to add to the conversation about this strange political scene in America by using deeper perception, something all of us can do, something we can learn to do if we're not doing it as much yet as we'd like to.
Now, to say that this presidential race is strange is not using the right word. I don't think anyone has found the right word to describe it. There are a lot of surprises. When Hillary cleaned up in New Hampshire, that was a big surprise. No, she didn't do it by a very great margin over Obama. That's true. However, after her little crying spell on national TV, I thought for sure she was finished.
What an interesting reaction to that. I heard the sound bite, and my feeling was if somebody listens to this and doesn't appreciate what a genuine person she is, that person has a heart of stone. And yet here's my friend Rob McConnell, and I know you don't have a heart of stone.
No, I think logic kicked in with me because I can't see the President of the United States crying to the powers, the other powers in the world when she is faced with a problem. What will that do to the great power of the United States? The next thing we'll have to do on the presidential shield, we'll have to put teardrops in the eagle's eyes.
Well, you know, I send out a zine once a month with articles, with face reading, aura reading, empathic merges, etc. It's free, and anybody who listens is welcome to get it. In my January issue, I mentioned the fact that I did a little research about countries that have voted for women as the chief executive, like president or prime minister. In America, we're making such a big fuss about possibly doing it. I counted 20 other countries ahead of us.
Oh, exactly.
20!
Exactly,
20.
but you know, I can't see the Queen of England crying because Prince Charles married someone she didn't like. I can't see Margaret Thatcher, the former great Prime Minister of Britain, crying because one of her parliamentarians said something. I've never seen a candidate cry before.
You just haven't lived, Rob.
And I don't think I would ever want to see the
seriously.
President of the United States to cry.
Well, I'd like to make a comment about something else with Senator Clinton, if that's okay.
Sure.
I started reading the major candidates on the 3rd of January, and I cut right to the chase. There's so many things you can investigate about them, but as somebody who has been reading faces and auras for presidential elections for a long time, I found something that is the single biggest predictor of who will win. And that's what I read in the 2, 4, 6, 7 leading candidates.
Okay, and what is that?
That is the part of the aura called the high heart chakra, and there's a data bank in there about having a soul-level connection to doing different activities. Well, when I read these 7 leading candidates, guess which one came out with by far the strongest showing in that part of the aura?
Don't
Hillary.
tell me.
And Barack Obama also has got quite a lot in there, but not as much. And then Huckabee's got a lot in there, but not quite as much. So I don't make predictions professionally, but I can't help but say that I was not surprised that she won that primary, and I won't be surprised if, despite the welling up and the reaction that you had and maybe many other people had as well, I won't be surprised if she wins, just because I've noticed in so many elections that the person with this very huge soulful connection does wind up being the winner.
If that's the case, then John McCain's got it hands down.
Well, actually, no, I don't find that in his high heart chakra.
All right,
your favorite candidate?
No, I have no favorites.
Well, I'll tell you what I noticed about this part of his aura, which is a really tiny projection with a very tough quality. It's as though all that experience that McCain had as a prisoner of war really altered him and became the signature quality of his aura. It's a little bit grim in there, but it's not quite as perky as what one often finds in a victor.
I don't think I'd see John McCain crying. I don't think I'd see Huckabee crying. I don't think I'd see Mitt Romney crying. I know for sure I would never see Obama crying.
You may not have been looking for other than tears, but if you'd been looking for this thing, you would have found it definitely in Romney. You'd find it in McCain. You'd also find it in Huckabee and in Edwards. And this thing is a very practical thing to know about as a face reader. Have you ever noticed when somebody's talking and the mouth starts strolling over to the right side of that person's face?
No.
Didn't know mouths walked around on a face. Well, just a figure of speech, but I call it a mouth pull. And when somebody's talking or smiling and a whole lot of the mouth scoots over to the right side of the face, that is a problem with integrity. That is a very, very easy thing for you to read with deeper perception. It is not good news when somebody has a smirk or a sneer or any other kind of a mouth pull going over to the right side of the face.
The only politician that I have ever seen that had a problem with his face and his mouth was our former Prime Minister Jean Chrétien, who had a medical problem. But when it comes to actually noticing, maybe we should ask Monica Lewinsky that question about Bill. Maybe she knows more than Hillary does.
Well, as a face reader, which of course anybody who wants to can become or become better at being, as a face reader, it's pretty easy to see if a mouth is moving toward one side of the face more than the other. If you have a photograph, you just cover up half of it with a piece of paper and look at one side and see how much mouth is on that half, and then you do the other half of the face. And it's like, have you ever heard the expression talking out of one side of his mouth?
Well, I've heard quite a few expressions like that, yeah.
Well, you're a professional broadcaster. You know everything about talking, Rob. This one is not a good one. And when a mouth pulls over to the right, what it is about is speaking for popularity rather than speaking with a balance of having impact and having inner conviction. And it is pretty common when people go for power or get power. For instance, with Senator Edwards, when he ran last time, and he was a vice presidential candidate, as you may know, he started to have a little bit of a mouth pull toward the right, but now he's got a much bigger one, which I think is unfortunate. If you want to find out what that does to a person or what's involved in the mind, body, spirit configuration of a mouth pull like that, do this little experiment. Try moving your very own personal mouth over.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Welcome back, everyone. Rosetree is our special guest, www.rosetree.com. And Rose and I are talking about the faces of the presidential candidates and what Rose, as the world's leading face reader, has been able to pick up that others haven't. Rose, thanks very much for joining us. Always great having you with us. And what can you tell us about Mitt Romney?
Well, Mitt Romney has a really straight chin bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means physically, if you want to look in the mirror and see if you've got one too, when you look at the face on the level and you look at the shape at the very bottom of the chin, or for some of us, the first chin, that counts. And having a straight chin bottom is somewhat unusual. It relates to making your decisions based on the principle of the thing.
Ah.
And so, in my system of face reading secrets is an adaptation of the 5,000-year-old art of reading faces for character. My book, The Power of Face Reading, teaches you how to do that. And one of the things that's really distinctive about my system is that every bit of face data, like a straight chin bottom, goes with a talent that a person has, and then it also goes with a potential challenge or a life lesson. So the talent is that when somebody makes decisions based on principle, if, for instance, that person is in a position of power, that could be a good thing. The potential challenge is being a zealot.
So there are ups and downs in both cases.
That's right. And, I call the place where we are not just the X-Zone Nation, the realm where Rob McConnell is the most incredible broadcaster.
Oh,
but
flattery gets you
School.
everywhere. You know
and
that.
At Earth School, we're all learning stuff.
Well, sure. That's what life is about. It's a constant learning lesson.
Yeah. It's a one-room schoolhouse where the grades are not labeled correctly.
How true. How very true. Okay, so what else can you tell us about Mitt Romney that we may not know?
Gee. Well, let's talk about his extremely chiseled jaws. He
All
probably
right.
has the most chiseled jaws of any of the 7 major candidates in here. I'm talking about the 4 Republicans and the 3 Democrats, who have been leading. And having really super chiseled jaws goes with a gift for determination, where when you resolve to do something, you'll push yourself harder than most people probably would ever imagine.
So would that be a sign of a great determination?
You put it better than I did. Thank you, Rob.
You're welcome. All right, so I can understand that because I'm looking at a photo of Mr. Romney, and I can certainly see that. And his past record, echoes that. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And,
now,
the potential challenge that goes with it, Rob, just to squeeze that in before your next question, the potential challenge is not always being that kind to himself. But I have a feeling this guy's overcome it because of other things about him, like some of the data banks in his aura. But if you have those very chiseled jaws, listeners, be nice to you, please.
Kirk Douglas had those kind of jaws. chiseled.
Mm.
Yeah. All right. Now, when it comes to Senator Obama, what can you tell us about the senator?
He has got the passion power style, meaning if you look at the overall proportion of his face, his forehead, especially on the right side of his face, is a whole lot wider than his cheeks or his jaw. And so what that tells us about him is that he is a super intense person and that he goes after his goals without worrying about obstacles as much as people with the other power styles tend to do. Very often, this is a great way to laugh as a face reader, I'll put it this way. In case you need something new to laugh about in this new year.
Okay.
When you find somebody who's got the same passion, power style as Barack Obama, notice that that person, although he or she's really intense inside, the body language is going to be ultra cool. But only about 1 out of 2 normal people has the passion power style, whereas it's extremely common in American presidents. The majority of presidents have had the passion power style. So those are people who just are go-getters. But if you're in a room with people who've got this characteristic, they're going to look like the most laid-back people in the whole room. They're the ones sitting back in the chair, crossing their legs, seeming ultra cool. And Obama is like that. You know, he just doesn't, unless he's speaking and getting the whole room to
get behind him.
Get behind him. Thank you. He just seems very much more cool than any of these other 6 candidates.
He does seem like a cool guy. Plus, he's got Oprah behind him, so there you go. All right. How about Mr. Huckabee?
Mr. Huckabee. He has a power line dimple, and I have to say that an awful lot of these candidates have a power line dimple. Not only does he have it, but Giuliani has it, and Edwards has it, and Obama has double dimples just on the right side of his face. Notice all those dimples, they're like a little parenthesis.
Yes.
What that means is charm, the ability to get what you want with other people by charming them. I guess if you just went in terms of who's got the most power line dimple, Obama would win the election.
we could.
There's other characteristics as well. And the challenge with a power line dimple, just in case you're looking in the mirror and you've got some, the challenge with it is that this is a bit of face data where you've actually gone through the challenge in order to get the data. I haven't seen a single baby born with a power line dimple. Have you, Rob, that parenthesis-like thing on cheek?
No, but can you imagine this with Mr. Obama, Senator Obama in the White House? We could call him Mr. President, or they could call him Mr. Dimples. It's the Russian premier for you. Will that be 1 dimple or 2?
Well, it's interesting that he has both on the right side, because in my system that's in the power of face reading, I explained that the right side of your face is about what you're like in public, whereas the left side of your face is about what you're like in your personal life. So Obama's got double charm in public,
right?
Not as much charm probably in his personal life. And so many of these candidates have it on the right. That's where Huckabee has it. That's where Edwards has it. I think Giuliani has it on both sides. It's fascinating reading dimples. And, of course, there are different types of dimple. There's peekaboo dimple. There's power line dimples. Lots of things we could read in dimple.
Now, what is a peekaboo dimple?
A peekaboo dimple, Rob, is a dimple that only comes out when the person smiles. And it's like a little circle.
I see. So you can stand there, get them to smile, and say, peekaboo.
Well, it has its own specific kind of meaning. And in the power of face reading, I do devote different chapters to different parts of the face. I needed a whole cheek chapter to include the dimples and of various types and so forth.
You cheeky devil.
There's an eyebrow chapter. There's so much more to a face if you're looking for meaning than what most of us were taught when we were kids. And unfortunately, even very perceptive people sometimes have not progressed in their looking at faces since they were in elementary school. It's silly. There's so much you can read if you want to study face reading.
Does the face change over time?
Oh, it does. That is my favorite thing about how faces change over time, because it's your soul that evolves here at Earth School, and depending on how you grow, your face changes in ways that really correspond to that. I wrote a whole book about that. I worked on it for 9.5 years, and it's called Wrinkles Are God's Makeup, How You Can Find Meaning in Your Evolving Face. Actually, Rob, wrinkles are only about 10% of the changes that happen to your face. Every feature can change, but most people miss the show because they're so busy looking at the coloring or the hair.
Yeah, you and I did a show on wrinkles, and I was amazed at the amount of work that you put into your book and what wrinkles really mean.
Yeah, they're interesting. They're like badges that God gives you for lessons that you've learned. Almost all of them are positive in nature, although there's a few of them that aren't. And it's really funny how the vanity surgery industry tries to interpret wrinkles in order to sell people.
Well, I don't know if it's the vanity surgery or the vanity of the people requesting the surgery. It's supply and demand.
Yeah, I just had a client. I do phone sessions where I help people to heal in their auras. I call that aura transformation, or sometimes I call the whole level of it that I've developed energy spirituality. And just tonight I got off the phone with someone who's in medical school, and she's planning to be a plastic surgeon, and she said whenever she talks about it, she just glows, because that's where medicine meets art. We all have different things that thrill our souls.
Yes, and mind you, I don't... why would somebody want to become a doctor just to go into plastic surgery? I mean, besides the money.
It thrills their soul. Now, this is the wild thing. If you investigate the impact on your aura of making a choice,
yes,
you can get such detailed information about what thrills your soul, what's good for your sex life, what helps you communicate, what gives you more power. Sometimes people study aura reading with me just so that they can make better decisions by getting a lot of the different components of who they are and making a much more informed decision that way.
Please don't take what I'm going to ask you wrong. But why would somebody need someone else to tell them what's good for their sex life?
Well, that's why I teach people how to read it for themselves, Rob.
Now, come on. You mean there are people out there who do not know what is good for their sex life?
Yes. And I'll tell you why.
Geez, I'm starting to think of my own reasons why. I must be an oddball. I must be one of these people who are out of a Cracker Jack box, because I don't need any help in that area.
Clearly, you've been a happily married man for a long time, but think about this. That when you make a decision about which book to read or which hobby to have, just for fun that seemingly doesn't have anything to do with sex, or you're thinking of visiting person A versus person B, not having to do with sex, just to have lunch, that any choice that you make has impact on all the data banks in your aura.
All right, but don't we have enough common sense to do this without going through auras and learning how to do this? Shouldn't this come to us naturally?
Well, see, I believe that aura reading abilities come to us naturally, but unless we make it conscious, we won't get much benefit. Very much like the fact that literacy is a very natural thing. Once you learn how to read, it's fluent, it's easy, but unless you have somebody to teach you how, you'd never learn, and there's a lot you'd miss out on in life.
I can buy that. I even agree with that. But if a person can't make up their own mind on some of the most elementary things in life, aren't they candidates for Dr. Kevorkian?
We're all candidates for Dr. Kevorkian. No, I'm just kidding. Look, here's the thing, Rob.
Okay.
There are
Explain
so
it to me,
many
Lucy.
choices we have
Explain
to
it.
make. It's like, if you've heard that saying, so many men, so little time. I love to help people sort out the many, many, many bewildering choices if they want to save themselves some time, some heartbreak. That's one of many practical applications of aura reading. There are certainly plenty of others if people don't need that kind of help.
Okay, how could aura reading help me?
Well, if you want to be able to find out which people you encounter lack truthfulness or integrity.
I have a gut feeling when that happens.
Okay. Well, many people don't have that accurate a gut feeling. In fact, I've read that FBI investigators who are trained are still wrong 50% of the time using their gut feelings and their training. But I can teach people to be right 100% of the time with that.
Oh, yeah, but hold on here. You're talking about the FBI here. They keep forgetting to pay their phone bills, for goodness sake. Did you hear it in the news where they didn't pay enough for their phone bills and the phone companies start cutting off their wiretaps? Hey, listen, you and I have to take a commercial break. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. My special guest is Rosetree, www.rosetree.com. Still to come on tonight's show, we have Mark Macy in the next hour talking about ITC, Reverend Daniel Gargliu talking about occult investigations, and Jesse Kelsey, he's an astronumerologist. My name's Rob McConnell. This is the X-Zone, and we're coming to you live and around the world from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, exclusively on the Talkstar Radio Network. We'll be back after this break. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
19 Sergeant Central. 19 Sergeant check. Officers on the scene.
Hi, I'm Larry Lawson, host of Paranormal Stakeout. With over 36 years in law enforcement, I have learned a few things. The most important is the proper gathering and preservation of evidence is vital to putting the bad guy behind bars. It's no different in the world of paranormal investigation. Whether it's the search for the afterlife, cryptozoology, UFOs, and extraterrestrials, how we gather the evidence, preserve that evidence, and present it to a jury of our peers will make the ultimate difference in proving the existence of worlds and entities that are beyond our imagination. Join me, Larry Lawson, every week on Paranormal Stakeout when, along with my guests, we'll take a journey to prove with indisputable evidence what man has struggled to believe for centuries. Go to xzbn.net for the broadcast schedule and check me out at paranormalstakeout.com.
True healing must address 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, for us to live joyful and productive lives. We tend to treat 3 of the 4, leaving the spiritual languishing. If you're tired of the same dysfunctional patterns cropping up in your life, Soul Balancing is for you. Trixie Phelps, owner and founder of Soul Balancing, is a naturally gifted energy healer trained in numerous esoteric forms, including shamanism. Trixie has created a powerful modality that safely and effectively clears your energetic field. A soul balancing session can remove interference, heal trauma, and restore your hope. Contact Trixie for a life-changing long-distance session today. www.soulbalancing.world.
Rose Rosetree is our special guest. And Rose, how many candidates do we have left?
How many what?
How many candidates do we have left?
We have several I haven't commented on yet.
All right, we've got about 4 minutes left. Let's try and get at least 3 more in.
Ooh. Blah, blah, blah.
Your pick.
Back at McCain, I want to talk about the fact that his cheek configuration is unusual. He's got the pacifist power style. I know he's the one famous for singing "Bomb, Bomb, 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 Iran." Ugh. But in terms of his face proportions, he has a real intent for helping people to get along when he talks to them, but he also has the potential challenge of storing up a lot of rage. Then if we go over to Rudy Giuliani, he is a lowbrow. I mean that physically, not necessarily culturally.
Oh, I see. I didn't know what you meant there.
Yeah. Well, that goes with a talent for spontaneous speech, off-the-cuff speech, and his needing to do that in order to really connect up with his greatest strength as a communicator.
Alrighty.
But you know what, Rob? I really want to do this, and in our remaining minute, I've got to tell you a couple of other reasons for reading auras, because I feel sad that you didn't like one of them, and I don't want listeners to think that that's the only reason to read auras.
I didn't like it? What do you mean?
Well, you didn't like the idea of spotting liars. But I also want to mention, for those who aren't happily married yet, you can preview a new date sexually. You can watch auras while you watch TV. You can heal through your voice. You can tell if somebody you know is taking drugs. You can find out how gifts of your soul are encoded in your chakras. There's an enormous amount of healing, self-knowledge, and joy that you can get from reading auras. So consider it.
Can somebody watching a black and white TV read auras?
I do it, sure.
How do you know?
They can do it from regular photos. You don't need special Kirlian photos to read an aura if you have skills.
But how do you read the color auras on a black and white TV?
That's such a great question. The answer is auras are not colors. Auras are energy bodies around your physical body loaded with information. And you don't have to see colors in order to get information about people and do it in depth and detail.
Interesting. Very interesting. Rose, we have to say so long for tonight. I want to thank you very much for joining us, and look forward to the next time you're here with us in the X Zone.
In the bathtub.
In the bathtub. Now, go get dried off and say hi to your husband for me.
I will. Thanks so much.
So long,
such a
Rose.
delight.
Take care, honey. Bye-bye now. Rosetree, www.rosetree.com. Okay. Next, we have Mark Macy. We're going to be talking about the International Network for Instrumental Transcommunication. We're also going to be talking about EVPs, voices from the other side, voices from beyond, through your television set, your telephone, and even your computer. 1-877-528-8255 is toll-free throughout the U.S., Canada, Alaska, and Hawaii. And my name is Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone on the Talkstar Radio Network. We come to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern. And then the show is repeated in its entirety from 2 a.m. until 6 a.m. Eastern. I'll be back on the other side of this break at 6.5 minutes past the top of the hour with Mark Macy as we talk about voices from the other side as the X Zone continues live and around the world from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, exclusively on Talkstar.